Alright, this is 6 o'clock Sunday morning. There's a big flood right now, but this path is okay, but I'm 99% sure that the actual Hugelkultur is surrounded by water right now. So I'm going to go down as close as I can to try to film it through the trees. As you can see, it's getting more swampy here. So my chances of getting close to it to get a picture are actually going downhill. I know if I go through here I can get to a ridge. Maybe I'll be able to get a good shot, because if this is wet here from flood, the Hugelkultur should be 4 feet under. The whole thing might have popped up and floated off, and that's what I want to see. So I can be devastated in a moment or not. So I'm just going to keep walking through here, and I'll turn this back on as soon as I get closer. Believe it or not, there is hope. That's it right there. Part of it's still there. The water's not moving in there. It's just like a pond. I can still see the dirt on the top of those logs, so unless the flood gets another 3 feet higher, I don't think this is going to be that big of a devastation. The water should subside, and I'll have to wait a few days to dig the muck out and back on top of the Hugelkultur, and then fix any of the stuff that floated up and off. I can see that there's a huge, well, not huge, but a big log either detached or floated in. I think it floated in because the rest of it looks like it's still there. But a lot of the dirt has been eroded from the top, and the logs exposed. And I built the Hugelkultur just to be tall enough to stick its nose out of the water. But here, as you can see, not very clearly because it's far away, there are still logs, and they kind of circle through that clearing. And that's my Hugelkultur, and I'm not going to be doing any digging or planting today. So here it is from another angle. You can see the Wisła way back there, pretty high, obviously. One thing I can say about the flood is that it's the natural sorting powers of water have collected all the trash into these little pockets here, and so that'll be easier for me to find and clean up after the waters go down. I'll know exactly where they are over here. I don't see much trash floating out there. I did see a couple bottles over by that bush too in a pocket, so I'm pretty sure that any trash that was in those trees has been lifted up and pushed over this way. So I'm pretty sure this is what's left from the flood. The waters were higher by about 4 inches or so, and it looks like the water is retreating because the only way out is back towards my Hugelkultur, because there's a high bank here all the way underneath this. I don't know if you can see the bridge. So there's the bridge tower there behind those bushes, and the water has to go back past the Hugelkultur to recede, and then once it gets down below the bank, then it's just going to have to absorb into the land. I don't know how long that's going to take, and I don't know how long this thing will be underwater. So those are my only concerns. I'm very, very pleased that it still looks like it's mostly a full circle, and that only a few logs have popped up, and the topsoil seems to be ripped off the top, and that's no big deal. So pretty much everything I've planted is probably destroyed. Who knows? It might be a big surprise this year what happens with this thing. Okay, so reassessment from this angle, which I've managed to get to the closest point I could by getting through this mess of bushes back here. I can see the front now, and the front is not covered by any sort of soil anymore. Looks like it eroded off. This part near me still has soil, but it looks like the water has floated the logs and pushed them up against the other one, so I'm going to have to reshift. I knew this was a floodplain when I started to make it. That's part of the reason I figured it would be no problem for me to do this here, because who's going to complain about me digging around in dirt that's going to be covered in water every few years anyway? But I had hoped it would not flood this year, so that the roots would take hold, and that next time it flooded it would just be like a regular hill of dirt like I'm standing on now. So I will fix it. It will get done. I will probably learn from this mistake and actually stake it down in the middle wherever the logs have moved. I'll actually get some big branches like that and hammer them into the ground so that if the flood comes it won't be able to push them around any. But it's for the most part kept its shape. It was circular. I really wove the logs together like a basket. I put them under something and then back over the top if they were crooked and curvy logs, and it really wove them together, so that's why they're still there. And plus there's that little bush, that little tree on this side that I anchored up against, and since it was a complete circle almost, it kind of held its shape, and it's not just one big log jam, it's still a circle, as you can see. And if I had a little boat, I would go spend my day floating around in the center and maybe trying to catch a fish. I've seen a few minnows actually jumping over here by this tree, and I hope that they learn that there's not going to be water here in a few days, because they're going to be trapped on my little field and become some sort of fertilizer. So this is what I've got right now. I've got a big waterlogged garden. That's pretty exciting. It's a beautiful morning. Most people, if I told them I was coming down to the river today, would think I was going to be carried off by the flood, but I'm standing on solid ground right next to the edge. This is as close as I can get. I am 20 yards from the entrance to my garden. I've watched blackbirds. There are tons of blackbirds flying around right now. I've watched blackbirds walking around on top of those logs and picking off whatever seeds there were in the dirt on the side over here, and at least they're getting some food out of it, and I'm having a good time. This is all right. It's beautiful here.